Clyde, how old were you when you went into the military?
19.
What was it like being 19 years old and getting ready to go see the world, really?
I enjoyed it until I got off board ship in Yokohama, Japan. And of all things, a Japanese band meets me playing Japanese music. I'm looking over the side of that ship and I'm thinking, now what have you got yourself into?
What was the training like? What were some of the things that you had to go through?
Well, we had to go through a lot of day and night maneuvers, mostly day maneuvers, but we did do a lot of night. I was a 30 caliber light aircrew light machine gun operator.
And you went in 1948, which was peacetime, so you obviously probably saw the reports of World War II and what was going on at that time. What went through your head when you thought, I'm going into the military, it's peacetime? Did you know what you would expect?
Well, I enlisted for a reason. It was all over. And I shouldn't say this, but my brother was sort of the apple. I was raised on a farm. My brother was sort of the apple of the eye of my folks. I had taken up farming after graduating from high school. And my brother would come home and he'd say, boy, the Army will make a man out of you. They'll make a man out of you. Well, he was home 1 year, and my folks give him all the land that I had to farm. I said, what about me? They said, well, you've got the 35 acres that you plowed out with the Caterpillar. I used a Caterpillar to plow out 35 acres that hadn't been plowed for years. I said, no, I need more ground than that. What do I do with my equipment? Well, you can help us farm and we'll pay you. I've worked with you two before. I was my dad and my brother. I know better. I was trying to get a job in the city. My best buddy come to me one night and said, hey, let's join the Army. What? He said, I joined today. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. And at that time, Truman had come out with a deal. You could volunteer for the Army and serve the term of the draft, or you could serve the time of your enlistment. So I chose to serve the time of my draft. At the time that Truman suggested that he was going to send advisory troops to Korea, I was sitting on that northern island of Japan. Time was almost up, and I'm thinking, guys are getting froze every day, some are re-enlisting, I'm not going to get out of here. We had went on a 90-mile from camp tour, and I'd slept out in the field all night, and it snowed that night, which was not uncommon. I woke up with my bedroll and about 10 inches of snow. The guy hollering, Clyde Maxwell. Yeah, I'm over here where you want. Go down to the Jeep immediately, you're going in for discharge. Man, I grabbed everything I had and I took off. 5 minutes I was in the Jeep waiting to go.
When you were overseas, what were some of your duties? What did you do on a day-to-day basis?
Mostly day-to-day basis trained. Once in a while I worked in the kitchen and what they call kitchen police. That was nothing more than just washing dishes. One of the guys that was in my platoon joined it and went into the kitchen as a cook. And he enjoyed it. He was from New Mexico. Yeah, I had considered it, and then I didn't go. I was really glad. And one of the things that changed my mind about the Army, I thoroughly enjoyed all of my tour. As a Virginia boy, this sticks in my mind. And we had a platoon sergeant named Sergeant Smoke. He had a rough, grunt-sounding voice. All right, man, fall out. Eat a big breakfast today. We're going to train you how to kill. And this guy after breakfast says, oh, we're going to train you how to kill. He said, join. He said, join the Army and learn a profession. He says, they're going to make a professional killer out of me. He says, who's going to hire a professional killer? You think about it, basically that's what they train you to do.
Did you have any other memorable moments?
Oh, I loved parts of Japan. Didn't go to town too much, stayed on post, minded my own business, and that was about it.
Looking back on your military career, what is something that you have really taken away from it?
Well, I was recalled. I was only out 3 months until I was recalled back into Fort Hood, Texas for the Korean. So I was back on active duty again. And I think most memorable moment was I transferred from Fort Hood to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. There's a basis behind all of this. And I ended up in a transportation company. We had one truck company in Korea. Basically, you see MASH on TV. That's what they were doing, was bringing in injured to the aid station. We also had one helicopter company with us, which was interesting. We had those helicopters they was training to use in medics in Korea. I kept trying to get changed over to the helicopter. They wouldn't let me in, basically because of health reasons. So I heard about a meat cutter school that was going to start, and I thought, I'm a farm boy, I should know something about that. So I found out how to get over in school, and sure enough, 2 weeks later I was in school to learn how to be a meat cutter. So most of the rest of my service time I spent as a battalion meat cutter in the kitchen, and if I didn't have meat to cut, I worked as a cook in the kitchen.
And at that time you were in Oklahoma?
I was in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me because you talked about wanting to go somewhere warm in 1948, and you end your career somewhere warm.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I finished the meat cutting school, was very enthused with it. Then I found out there was another school going to start pertaining to meat cutting in a way, and it required me to re-enlist for 6 years. I would go to Pennsylvania to college for 4 years. The only time I could come home was between Christmas and New Year's. In that 4 years I was in college. After completing that, I could get my time off. And I was already had everything done but put my signature on the papers, and I had gotten married while in Oklahoma. My young wife says, said, if you're thinking of doing that, said, we're getting a divorce now. What? I said, well, what's your basis? She says, 1 year I was in 5 different schools. She says, I'm not going to raise my children going from school to school. So I gave it up. Took my discharge and come home. Was going to go to Columbia to college. Try for the same thing. I found out I could spend 4 years in Columbia and never be guaranteed to get the same opportunity as offered before. So I took up meat cutting with a wholesale company in Chillicothe, Missouri. Was with them 2 years, left them. Went with a company called Hy-Vee, which was very interesting. And my son was born in Fairfield, Iowa with birth defects. We ended up bringing him to Kansas City to the Children's Mercy Hospital. No insurance, nothing, he was born with it. And so I decided to go back in service. I found the active reserve unit, joined up with them to find out that I could go back in active duty, but I had to drop all of my career that I had before. Start out, take basic training, and start all the way through again. I'm not going to do that. So I got on as a meat cutter for Safeway Corporation in Kansas City. But I did stay with the active reserve until I got throwed out. I was very glad to have spent my time with service. It offers a lot of opportunities if you open your eyes and just look around and look for them. They're there. Had I completed the school that I was talking about, my first appointment would have been Brazil. I always wanted to go to Brazil. Guess where the second? I already knew where my second appointment would be.
Where's that?
Argentina. I see the films of Argentina on movies. Always interests me. It looks so pretty and nice in Argentina. Oh, boy, I'd love to go. But I gave all that up, and I'm not unhappy. It saved my marriage. I have 3 nice children. One daughter lives right here in Richmond. One son lives in Excelsior Springs with me. And the other one is working right now. If you was watching a year ago when they blowed up the George Brett Bridge, if you'd seen the tallest crane that was there, the biggest, that was my little daughter operating that crane. She took up working in the field of iron workers after her mother passed away, and she's been very workaholic. Right now she's working in Lawrence, Kansas on a power plant.
You're very proud of them, aren't you?
Very proud of them.
What year did you finally get out of the military?
I finally got booted out 73, I think it was.
So from 48 to 73.
From 54 to 73, 74 you might say, on active reserve.